So we had the parade yesterday. It rained on the parade. Brave souls stood out there. At times, it was pouring. I know this for a fact. I was there at the parade. It lasted about a half an hour without an umbrella. The Oregon anthem, Louie Louie, was played by a band of practically senior citizens who were sponsored by Carl's Jr. Way to go, Carl's. Way to sponsor those seniors and their marching band. It was called Second Time Around. Louie Louie, that's about the, 2000th time around. But, it's Oregon, and we have Paul Revere and the Raiders, and we got the King's Men. And, in Seattle, they got Kurt Cobain. Poor guy got killed by his wife and his bandmate. But that's not what's on my mind, although, guns and shit that's kind of covered up in the media. It's definitely on my mind today. This has nothing to do with parades, and my hat's off to anyone who goes and stands and watches a parade and cheers those people on in the rain. I was there. There was some real joy there that was unmistakable, undeniable. You don't get that kind of joy. Of course, it's not politically relevant. It's not certain lives matters. It's not, identity politics. It's just real, honest to goodness joy. What's on my mind today? Stylist, please come fix the vlogster's hair, makeup. Thank you. What's on my mind today is shootings. The usual rash of shootings, and each and every time pushing the same agenda. I would like to say I don't own a gun, and if I was Kurt Cobain, I would then say that or sing it in his wonderful voice 8 more times, and yet you all would still think that he was responsible for his own death. So imagine me singing that 8 more times. I don't own a gun. I'm not a person who should own a gun, and I've come to that determination, and I've stuck by it all my life. I'm a pacifist, true pacifist. I'm like a Quaker, an old school Quaker pacifist. But it's my choice. It's my decision. And what I see not being reported is how much special, extraordinary help is being given to these people committing these mass crimes. Questions that are not being asked, let alone answered. Why was the school unlocked? Everyone knows you go to a grade school, an elementary school, any school, the front door, all doors, they're locked. You cannot get in without a live security guard letting you in and you showing some credentials, some identification. There's usually an electronic key lock at the front door where you have to, pass a identification through of some kind. Number 1, how did he get in? Who let him in? Number 2, how did he get into the classrooms? Everyone knows classrooms are now locked from the outside. This started happening years ago as a result of school shootings. How did he get into the classrooms? Would someone answer that question for me? How did he get this help? Who helped him? Who assisted him? Number 3, who's to be held responsible for him purchasing this gun online? There's obviously some place online where he purchased the AR-15 rifle, and they're not being held accountable. They're not being identified. I think one news source that's certainly well outside of mainstream has identified this online purveyor of weapons where he purchased his gun. They're not being held accountable. They should be, at least in a civil court. Maybe somehow they're outside the boundaries of the United States or any country, because we have a lot of international waters out there in the form of the slippery old internet. But lastly, and this one I think really needs to be discussed, where did he go and pick up the gun? We know it wasn't the U.S. Postal Service, as in the case of the Branch Davidians. They had parts, not guns, they had parts for guns they were refurbishing, being bought and sold through the U.S. mail. Well, then there was, of course, the incident at Waco with the massive standoff and the massacre of around 90 innocent people. Be that as it may, people have learned their lessons. They're no longer using the U.S. mail to buy and receive guns. Of course, there wasn't the internet back in 92. So it's been mentioned in one news source, nowhere in mainstream media, where they went and picked up these guns. Not they, I'm sorry, the shooter, the 18-year-old shooter who was mentally challenged. And why are they not being held accountable? Obviously, they are within the boundaries of the United States of America. Why aren't they, being charged with something? Negligent homicide, something, I don't know, some kind of felony not being discussed in the media. It's just ban weapons, ban. That's going to stop it. No, obviously it's not going to stop it. There are all kinds of checks and balances already in place. There's laws already in place. Laws aren't being enforced. Doors aren't being locked. Doors inside of doors aren't being locked. Or somehow access is being given. Why? How? Who? Where? Well, we know where, at least, at the school of the most recent shooting. Finally, we have a person who is obviously in extreme mental and emotional distress. It's pretty difficult to avoid seeing a person who is cutting on their face. Why is help not being given? Why isn't this person, they're 18 years old, but prior to the shooting, they weren't. They were, did not have rights in terms of they could easily be, and I'm not a proponent of this, but on the other hand, it would have definitely saved some lives. Why wasn't this individual, why wasn't he held against his will in an institution as a danger to himself and others under the age of 18? He doesn't have the right to say no. I'm not going. You need 2 psychiatrists or one relative that I'm blood related to send me to the happy farm. These are some of my questions. Answer me in the comments below. Again, I don't own a gun. I'll say it 8 more times like Kurt Cobain and you still won't believe me. And I don't own a gun. I'm not this big, huge proponent of we all need to be armed to the teeth. We need to all be able to carry our weapons down to the shooting range and, hit some targets. But on the other hand, the government needs to stay out of my life. And for those of you who love a parade, please, whenever you get the opportunity, go to it. It's, it's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not, certain lives matters, it's your life matters, your joy matters. It's like go and attend to your joy. Please. It's summertime. Don't postpone your joy.